Go back to the main menu, and then we can go to 5 thermometers.
Can't work with you.
These students are learning science with the powerful new tools of the Microcomputer-based Laboratory, or MBL. MBL uses computers to record, display, and analyze physical phenomena, such as temperature, light, and sound.
Okay, pause. Okay. No, right there, look at it, right at the tip. Got it right at the tip.
MBL gives students real-time information in the form of measurements and enables them to graph, save, compare, and analyze those measurements.
What is it?
9,000 something.
9,443.
Because the computer simplifies many of the science lab's routine tasks, it frees students to concentrate on scientific problem solving, so they can begin to understand the principles, patterns, and relationships of scientific phenomena. With microcomputer-based laboratories, students are not learning about computers. They're learning the subject matter of science.
You make a big space. No, it's going to be easy. It's going to be hard. It's going to be easy, but I think no.
MBL is easy to use. The measuring instrument is a small device called a probe, which plugs into the computer. Probes can be designed to serve as thermometers, light meters, microphones, and a host of other instruments. Robert Tinker of Technical Education Research Centers explains one use of the sound probe.
We can capture sound waves and allow students to see them and examine them at leisure. There's some very sophisticated ideas involved with that. I have it set up right here. If I say something, the sound wave is captured on the screen, and then the computer can scan over this 1 second time that I've recorded and show a little bit of it. I can now examine that at my leisure. I can look at the different waves. I can even play it back. See, it recorded what I was saying. It can play it back. I can look and see how that sound is integrated with that signal there. It gives me a tremendous opportunity to focus on the phenomena, which is sound waves, that I wouldn't have had without a powerful tool like this. I can do the same kinds of things with heat and temperature. I can deal with the very long, weather changes over days or weeks. I can deal with the very short pressure changes over 30 milliseconds. And students can broaden their experiences by all of those different phenomena that are brought to their attention and that they can scrutinize.
The trend of the last decade to phase out, limit, or simulate science labs because of lack of time and resources has made it difficult for teachers to expose students to the scientific process. With MBL, teachers see an opportunity to encourage experimentation with the real materials and methods of science.
I think one of the wonderful things is that they can fit into current curriculums that teachers have, and they can just modify their experiments that they're using currently, and it sort of frees us from being tied down just to the manipulative problems. And we can sort of think bigger and stress the applications. And experimenting in a larger sense, a lot of unscheduled experiments. And the kids often say, what if we change this? Or what if we change that? And you can't do that now. I mean, I can't do it in the lab, and that's too bad, because we work to get the students to ask those kind of questions, and then when we do, we say, well, we don't have time to find out. And I can see the probes permitting us to do that and to follow up those leads of the students, and to have several different groups of students following up in the same classroom, different what-ifs.
think that must be it. I think it is. I think it's really warm in here. I'm hot. I find it's easier to teach using MBL because the student has a powerful tool that they're in control of, and consequently the questions that they then have for me are questions more of content and so on, which they get excited about something, and the sort of thing they often want to do is just share it with somebody. So they actually do a lot of the figuring out for themselves. They're learning to do science as process, or science as a procedure, very much the way that scientists really do it. And with these tools, they're able to do that without the tools getting in the way of the learning.
98.6.
The MBL can be used really to teach the lesson, not just to enhance it, not just to reinforce it, but actually to teach the concepts, and that's what I liked. With a whole class of students. There were 22 students in that room, in groups of 3s, 2s, learning heat, learning temperature, learning how to compare, how to graph. That was one of the best parts of the whole lesson, was that some students wouldn't have the graphing skills to put it together themselves, but they could see it once it was there on the screen, how it worked, the relationships.
The MBL process of learning is much more like doing science than it is like learning about science. Because the students control what's happening, and because the experiments they do with their own laboratory equipment are authentic and real-time, they are in charge of the learning, which is an essential pedagogical principle, not just in science, but in all of education.
This is the temperature. It's going up.
Pretty stable. Now remember,
Because last time
temperature to
this time it's going up. Last time your hand was always down here.
Now,
You know?
see what your idea is first here.
It's gonna keep going up. My hand was up here last time.
Well, we have a difference of opinion.
MBL has the power to allow students to do real science, not just set experiments or demonstrations or carrying out workbook activities. It also can show students that they should question arbitrary authorities, that they should look to the materials themselves as genuine scientists do to find out answers. What it does is give them a genuine experience instead of a phony one, and I think that's a very important educational advantage that computers can offer.
Doesn't go hot. Very hot water on yours.
The microcomputer-based laboratory has applications across a broad range of ages, learning abilities, and subject areas. It can be used effectively with students as young as 4th or 5th grade, as well as with middle school and high school students, and even at the college level. Success with these tools is not limited to students with high academic standing. The key to MBL's power lies in its ability to excite and motivate all students, including those who have not done well with traditional styles of teaching and learning. It is also effective for students with learning disabilities. Although MBL is new to the classroom, educators are already imagining and exploring new areas of application in human physiology, biology, earth science, chemistry, and physics. Eventually, MBL should be applicable to anything measurable in science.
There we go.
There's our sharp rise right there.
How far do you think it might go?
Up to 5.
About 5 or 10?
10, yeah, maybe. 5.
5? Okay.
10.
At the practical goal level, I see this as moving teachers back into being able to include real data, real experiments into the classroom. But at the long range, it seems to me that it has the potential of also transforming what we teach and bringing in a whole areas of science that have to do with technology, that have to do with exploring the world out there in a much broader way than the textbook typically does. so that it opens up what the curriculum can cover, and then at the same time opens up the process by which you're operating. So you really can become, in some sense, a scientist, asking your own questions, organizing ways to find some answers to that, doing experiments, talking about what you got, and acting as a science and not just being told about what science is.
I would like to see science come back into schools with the energy and enthusiasm and excitement that it had for a brief period during the 60s, and that disappeared quite a lot during the 70s. I think the computer's the way to do it, and that MBL is the means that we can use to bring computers productively and excitingly into the classroom. I think it revitalizes teachers' lives as well as students, and I want to see more of that happen, because I see that the classroom has become, in some respects, a deadly place for teachers as well as for students. And this is the beginning of what I hope will be a multiple use of many uses of the computer for instructional purposes.
Yeah. Before the screen goes.
Go up.